She was dragged away in handcuffs, mocked as a fraud, branded a thief of honor. The world laughed at her, until a retired admiral leaned close and whispered, "That tattoo's real. She's one of ours." The docks of Port Huron smelled of iron, salt, and oil. Cargo ships groaned against the tide, their hulls painted with rust and scars of 1,000 voyages. Sailors and workers moved in steady rhythm, unloading crates, checking manifests, shouting orders over the roar of forklifts. Among them stood Daniela Varga. She didn't wear a uniform, just a plain brown jacket, worn boots, and jeans stiff from long use. Her hair was tied back, dark strands tucked neatly beneath a cap. To anyone passing by, she looked like a traveler, maybe a woman waiting for someone returning from sea. But Daniela wasn't waiting. She was watching. Her eyes moved with precision, scanning faces, noting gestures, memorizing every detail. It wasn't curiosity, it was instinct. Years of training had taught her to observe before acting. She leaned against a railing, hands in her pockets, her breath slow and steady. To an ordinary eye, she seemed calm. To anyone trained, she carried the stillness of a predator waiting for the right moment. That stillness caught the wrong kind of attention. Two men in dark windbreakers moved quickly through the crowd. They weren't sailors. They weren't workers. They were federal agents, their badges clipped to their belts, radios pressed close to their sides. Their eyes locked on Daniela, as if they had been hunting her for weeks. Daniela noticed them long before they reached her. She saw the tension in their shoulders, the way their hands twitched near their belts. She didn't run. She didn't shift. She simply straightened, as if she had been expecting them. "Ma'am," the taller one barked, flashing his badge. "Federal security." "Step away from the railing." Daniela tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "Is there a problem?" The shorter agent smirked. "You tell us. You've been seen around this port claiming to be something you're not." "I haven't claimed anything," Daniela replied, her voice flat, steady. "Cut the act," the tall one snapped. "We know who you're pretending to be. A special operator, a ghost soldier. That's a federal crime. Stolen honor, stolen valor." The words spread quickly. Workers nearby paused in their tasks, whispering. A young sailor muttered, "Fraught," under his breath. Another shook his head, disgusted. Daniela heard them. She didn't flinch. She only said, "You're making a mistake." The shorter agent pulled out a set of handcuffs, the steel glinting under the gray sky. "No, the mistake is yours." The cuffs closed cold around her wrists. Daniela didn't resist. She had been bound before in training, in combat, in darker places she could never name. She let them lock her wrists, her eyes calm, her breath steady. People stared now. A woman pulled out her phone, recording as the agents marched Daniela toward a black SUV parked at the curb. Laughter rippled from a few onlookers. Others whispered harshly, shaking their heads. The taller agent shoved her into the back seat. "You disgust me," he said, his voice sharp with contempt. "Men died for what you're pretending to be." Daniela turned her head slowly, meeting his eyes without blinking. "And some died without their names ever spoken," she said quietly. The words unsettled him, though he covered it with a scowl. He slammed the door shut, and the vehicle rolled forward. Leaving the crowd behind, Daniela leaned against the seat, the hum of the engine filling the silence. Her wrists throbbed beneath the cuffs, faint scars rubbing against the steel. She stared through the tinted window as the docks receded. Memories flickering in her mind, moonlit waters, endless drills, the taste of salt forced into her lungs, the weight of gear heavier than her own body. Those memories weren't supposed to exist. On paper, they didn't. But they lived in her scars, in her reflexes, in the way she moved. As the SUV carried her toward the city, Daniela closed her eyes. She had known this day might come, a day when shadows could no longer hide her, and yet, even now, she wasn't afraid. The The federal building was a fortress of glass and steel. Its corridors smelled of bleach and old carpet, lit by buzzing fluorescent bulbs that stripped warmth from the air. Daniela was marched past closed doors and watchful eyes, her cuffs biting into her wrists. They placed her in a small room, gray walls, one table, two chairs. A camera blinked red from the corner. She sat with her hands on the table, her posture straight, her eyes fixed on nothing in particular. The agents entered soon after. The tall one leaned against the wall, arms crossed. The shorter one dropped a thick folder onto the table with a loud thud. "Daniela Varga," he said, his voice sharp. "Born in Chicago. Nursing school dropout. 2 minor arrests. Nothing special. Yet, here you are, walking around like you're some kind of operator. Care to explain?" Daniela's eyes moved to the folder. She didn't speak. Silence was safer than truth. The tall agent smirked. "You can't just disappear for years and come back with stories. We checked, there's no record of you in the military. Not a single file." "You're asking the wrong questions," Daniela said at last. The shorter one barked a laugh. "The right question is why you're lying. Nobody believes you. No woman has ever been through that kind of training." Daniela studied him. Her voice was calm, her words steady. "Not everything is written in your files." The tall agent slammed his fist on the table. "Enough games. This isn't a movie. You're looking at prison. Tell us who you really are." Daniela lowered her gaze to the steel surface, seeing her own reflection, tired eyes, scarred wrists, a face that carried years of silence. She whispered, "I am what you can't accept." The agents exchanged a look. To them, her composure was strange. Most imposters broke fast, trembling, begging, contradicting themselves. Daniela didn't. She sat still, breathing like a soldier who had waited out storms before. The recorder blinked red, capturing every word. The shorter agent leaned in. "Last chance. Who coached you? Who told you how to act like this?" Daniela gave a faint smile, the kind that unnerved more than anger ever could. "No one coached me. Some things can't be taught. They can only be survived." Silence fell heavy. For the first time, doubt flickered in their eyes. Asterisk by morning, the headlines spread everywhere. "Woman arrested for military fraud." News anchors repeated it with mocking tones. Commentators shouted on talk shows. Blogs called her a disgrace. Daniela's photo in handcuffs flashed on screens nationwide. Comment sections boiled with fury. Veterans cursed her name. Strangers sent threats to her old social accounts. To the world, she was a fraud who had stolen honor. In her cell, Daniela sat on a cot, staring at the wall. Voices of condemnation echoed from the guard's television. "Pathetic," one pundit said. "Nothing worse than stolen valor." Every word was a blade, but she endured. She had endured. Worse, the suffocating silence of missions never acknowledged, the weight of comrades lost without recognition. She whispered to herself, "Pain is temporary. Silence is survival." Far away, her younger brother Miguel watched the news, his hands trembling. He saw Daniela's face across the screen, the sister who had vanished for years without explanation. He called the facility, begging to speak to her. The guards refused. Miguel left a message. "Tell me it isn't true. I defended you. Don't let me look like a fool." The message never reached her. Even if it had, Daniela wouldn't have known what to say. That night, hashtags exploded online. Hashtag valor thief, hashtag fraud soldier, hashtag fake hero. Memes mocked her, painting her face with clown makeup. Daniela sat in silence, her hands folded, scars visible under the harsh light. The world demanded explanations, but she gave them none. Silence was her only shield. Asterisk processing was routine. Remove personal effects. Strip, search, replace clothes with prison gray scrubs. A female officer documented Daniela's scars, with cold efficiency: a slash on her arm, a burn across her shoulder, a jagged line at her ribs. Then, the officer stopped. Beneath Daniela's ribs, faint and worn, was a tattoo. The ink was faded, scar tissue running through it, but its design was clear, a dagger cutting through waves, crowned with a compass star. The officer frowned. "What's this?" Daniela said nothing. Her face betrayed nothing. The officer noted it in her report. To most, it looked decorative, but when the agent saw the sketch later, the room grew tense. The tall agent scoffed. Probably some biker symbol. But the shorter one, Mullen, stared at it longer. "No, this isn't for show. It means something." That night, he made calls. Most people gave him silence, but one voice finally whispered, "If she carries that mark, she's not who you think she is. Stop digging before you bury yourself." Mullen hung up, his stomach tight. For the first time, he felt fear not of Daniela, but of what she represented in her cell. Daniela traced the ink with her fingers, remembering the night it had been burned into her skin after a trial most never survived. A silent ceremony. No applause. No recognition. Just a mark for those who endured. That tattoo was never meant to be seen. Now it had become her only proof. The detention wing grew restless. Guards whispered about the tattoo. Some dismissed it as fake. Others, veterans themselves, avoided speaking Daniela's name at all. Something about her unsettled them. The next morning, the air shifted. A man arrived who did not belong to the world of gray suits and buzzing fluorescent lights. He wore a dark civilian suit, pressed and simple. His silver hair was cut short, his back straight as steel. He walked with quiet authority, the kind earned over decades, not written on paper.